Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, first to President Sean McGarvey, who has done an outstanding job leading this movement. Let's give him a round of applause for his great leadership. And it's my pleasure to be here with the men and women who have built this nation and will build this nation. And let me begin also by the two most important words in the English language, which is thank you. Without the support and the friendship and the kindness of the people in this room, I don't believe I would be governor of the state of New York. You've had my back every step of the way, and I will never forget it. Let me give a shout out to the New York boys, Jimmy Cahill and Gary LaBarbera, who are here, and the whole crew from New York. Our Commissioner of Labor is here, Roberta Reardon. If you get a chance, you should say hello to her. Secretary to the Governor, which is the top position, Bill Mulrow, is here. And Alexander Cochran, who runs our Washington office, and he can be very helpful. Alexander Cochran, it's a pleasure to be with him. I've been in and around the construction industry for a number of years in a number of capacities. I built housing in the private sector. I built about 1,000 units in different projects. I was the HUD secretary for 8 years and worked with you in that capacity during the Clinton years on important issues, and we made a lot of progress. And now I'm governor of the state of New York, and I'm proud to say that in New York we have the most ambitious construction and development program of any state in the United States of America, a $100 billion program. And I think it's simple. I start with a societal premise. You are what you build. It's almost that simple. We have a vision for our future. We have an ambition, creativity, and competence, and we build to make that vision a reality. Without a vision for the future, without a goal on the horizon, you are at a standstill, and at best maintaining the status quo. And then we shouldn't be surprised when the competition passes us by. When I was HUD secretary, I would be flying into a city, visited cities all across the country, and I would count the cranes that you could see as you're flying into the city. And my message was always the same. I would count the cranes and I'd say to the city officials, you are either building and developing or you are going backwards. Because if you're not building and if you're not developing, the city up the coast is, the city on the other end of the state is, your competition is. So you either build or die in many ways. And how we build is how we grow. It determines our development patterns, our housing patterns, our business patterns, our transportation patterns. And construction and the signs of construction actually has a very positive impact on the nation's psyche. People see growth, people see construction, they believe you're moving ahead. It instills a sense of direction, excitement, and progress in our people. At one time, our nation understood this, and we made this nation into the greatest superpower on the globe. But let's remember, our success didn't just happen. We didn't evolve into the greatest nation on the globe. We built this nation into the greatest nation on the globe with our hands and sweat. That was the American way. We were tough, we were gutsy, we were daring. And there was no challenge that we wouldn't take on. And we built this country, and we have to regain that spirit of energy and positivism and ambition. And that story was the early American story. 1817, we're in Washington, D.C. 1817, the big question for the country is, how do you get goods to the western part of the country, really the Midwest now where the Mississippi River is? And the best way to transport goods was by water, 1817. So they were trying to figure out a water access route from the East Coast to the Mississippi. George Washington and Thomas Jefferson are in this town, and they have a plan. Ships can come in the Potomac, up the Potomac to the Chesapeake, and then from the Chesapeake, they're going to build a series of canals and dams that get them to the Mississippi River. That's their plan. And they start to build the C&O canals. There's a governor up in New York named DeWitt Clinton, no relation. DeWitt Clinton says, we can't let Virginia do that because then Virginia will become the #1 seaport, and they want New York to be the #1 seaport, so Clinton has a different plan. Ships come in from the Atlantic, they get to the Hudson, they go up the Hudson 150 miles, they get to Albany, they make a left. They go across the state, they come out in Buffalo, and now you're in the Great Lakes. And once you're in the Great Lakes, you can get to any river you want, you're in the Midwest. And they say, Governor Clinton, one question. When the ships make the left at Albany, how do they get to Buffalo? There's no water between Albany and Buffalo. And Clinton says, no problem, we're going to dig a canal. And they say, dig a canal all across the state of New York. This is 1817, 524 miles. Clinton says, yes, we're going to dig a canal, and then the ships will go through the canal. They think he's out of his mind. They literally move to impeach him because they think he's crazy. He goes ahead with the project, 7 years, on time, on budget, just men and mules. They dig that canal. It becomes the Erie Canal. It opens up New York. It makes New York the success it is today, and it makes this country the success it is by expediting development to the West. That was the spirit. That's who we were. Look how outrageous the dream. But there was nothing that we can't do. And it was true, and it worked, and that's what built America, and that's what we have to get back to now. That was the American ethic, and it was all across the country. You could see it in the Hoover Dam, the Golden Gate Bridge, Overseas Highway in Florida, Tennessee Valley Authority bringing electricity to places that never had it before. 1956, President Eisenhower, the interstate highway grid. What an ambitious undertaking to make one nation with a transportation system. Somewhere along the way, we lost that drive. 1960, the federal budget dedicated 6% of all the revenue to construction and development. Today, that number is half the amount, literally half the amount. And even more concerning, other countries are continuing to build and develop. European nations are developing at twice the rate the United States is developing. China has built 21 of the 50 longest bridges in the world. We've built 7. China has built 21 bridges in the last 20 years. We have built 1. There are 14,000 miles of high-speed rail on this globe. How many miles are in the United States? 456. The last new airport that was built in the United States 20 years ago, the Denver airport. Meanwhile, all the other countries are building airports that are phenomenal and that frankly dwarf ours. And when we do build in this country, more our construction is about maintenance than building new. It's about maintaining the status quo rather than building towards a new vision to make us more competitive. New York is going to take a completely different path. This year we announced $100 billion, the largest undertaking in the state's history for road and construction, the largest of any state in the nation, and I'm proud of it. And we're not going to repair we are not going to repair what is. We are going to build what never was before. And we believe this is an investment in our state that is going to keep New York as the international capital. Now, it's a culture change for New York, too. It's big, it's bold, it's ambitious, and it's a little bit frightening. But it's one of the statements I wanted to make as a new governor. I was all excited, and I went to the state officials, and one of the first meetings, I had them all around the table, and I said, I want to do a really big project. I want to show people that government can work. I want to get a little bit of that New York machismo back in our step. Give me a really big project. And they all looked at me like I had a big nose or something. And we went back and forth, but they had no projects. And I said, well, how about the Tappan Zee Bridge? Now, if you're in New York, the Tappan Zee Bridge, they've been talking about replacing for literally 25 years. It's not an exaggeration. 4 governors have gotten up and said, we should replace the Tappan Zee Bridge. Tappan Zee Bridge goes across the Hudson River from Rockland to Westchester. It was built as a temporary bridge. It's about 50 years old. And it's been in terrible shape all my life. It really is a frightening experience going over the Tappan Zee Bridge. Because first, they tell you that they should replace it because it's going to fall down, but then you keep driving over it, which makes you a little nervous to begin with. And they keep doing these patch jobs on the Tappan Zee by putting those very heavy metal plates over holes in the Tappan Zee Bridge. And you know those heavy plates, you see the truck in front of you goes over the plate and the plate bounces just a little bit. And then you see a little light coming from the corner of the plate. I always would take my seatbelt off when I was going across the Tappan Zee Bridge. I was getting ready to swim. I would take off my shoes. I'd open the window. I was ready. This goes on for years, and every governor says, we're going to replace the Tappan Zee, we're going to replace the Tappan Zee. So I said to the new team, a new governor, I said, well, how about replacing the Tappan Zee? And they said, well, you can say you're going to replace the Tappan Zee. I said, yeah, well, I know I can say it, but why can't I do it? And they said, oh, you can't do it. You can't do it. I said, but the bridge is falling down, and everybody says it's falling down. Why can't we do it? They said, well, it goes across the Hudson River. You have all those environmental groups who are going to sue. God forbid a hammer falls in the water. You can't do it. And you have Westchester on one side and Rockland's on the other, and you're never going to get them to agree, and it's expensive. But you should say you're planning to replace the Tappan Zee Bridge. And I said, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to replace the Tappan Zee Bridge. We can do this. We can do this. And by the way, we have to be able to do this. Otherwise, it's over as the America we know we are. Make a long story short, we worked on it every day. From announcing the project to groundbreaking was 1 year. To groundbreaking. The project is now underway. It'll be about 4 years in total. It's coming out of the river. It is magnificent. It has energized the entire region. People are feeling positive again. They're seeing this happening. They're believing in us once again and our capacity. President Obama had it on the front cover of their budget document last year as one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects in the United States, the Tappan Zee Bridge. But that is just the tip of the iceberg, my friends. I learned something from the Tappan Zee Bridge, and we all should. Yes, we can. We can do these big projects. We did do these big projects. Everything we did was the first and the biggest, the Verrazano Bridge, the George Washington Bridge, hundreds of miles of subway system under New York, an 80-mile aqueduct built in the 1800s just to get water to New York City. We never said no. No challenge was too big. Tallest building after tallest building. That's who we are. And that's our plan for New York, $100 billion. You want to grow New York, you need a capacity to bring in more people. It's the concentric circle theory. So from the east, we're going to add a third rail on the Long Island Railroad so we can get more people coming in from the Long Island Railroad. From the north, we're expanding Metro North and improving the Metro North Railroad to bring new people in. From the east, the Cross Hudson Tunnel that goes to New Jersey and brings in the trains is in dangerous state of repair. If that tunnel goes down, the entire northeast corridor gets hurt because you can't get trains to the entire northeast corridor. And we just announced $20 billion to rebuild the tunnel across the Hudson River. Our new transportation hubs, we're going to build the first new airport in 20 years at LaGuardia Airport. We're not rebuilding. It's all coming down, and it's going to be a brand new state-of-the-art airport. Penn Station in Manhattan. Penn Station in Manhattan is going to be all redone with the Farley building next door. It'll be about an $8 billion project, but it'll be a front door to New York when you come in and you get off a train. This is going to be great for the state. It's going to be great for the country because I want to have a positive example of what we can do and remind us of what we can do and that there's no challenge that the men and the women of this country can't build to meet and to expect. And my friends, every project we build is going to be built with organized labor, period. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Every project. That's why Gary LaBarbera and Jimmy Cahill are all smiles. They have work for the next 3 generations. And all they have to do is sit at their desk. I believe in the labor movement. I believe in the labor movement as a social force. I believe the labor movement built the middle class in this nation and protects the middle class in this nation. I believe in the building trades. I believe in the skill they bring to the job. I believe in the quality they bring, the safety they bring, and the fairness they demand in waging. That's why as HUD Secretary, I always supported Davis-Bacon. That's why I support prevailing wage, because people deserve a decent living for a decent day's work. And let's be honest, what's happening in this country is an anti-union movement. Sometimes loud, sometimes quiet, but it's always there. It's attacking the public sector unions, but it's attacking the private sector unions even more. And they're growing in strength, and they're growing in strength. We have a tremendous battle in New York right now. And it is a battle that every person in this room should be engaged in. There's a proposal for an affordable housing program in New York. That's before the New York State Legislature. And affordable housing is good, obviously. We all support affordable housing. But the question on the legislation is that there are forces that want the program to be open shop. Why? Because if in New York State, which is a bastion of labor support, if you can get a New York City construction project that is government subsidized to be open shop, then you have really diminished union labor. And if you can do that in New York, it is a national statement that union labor is not what union labor once was. That's what's going on. It's about a piece of legislation called 421A, but forget 421A, it doesn't mean anything. It's open shop or a government program that recognizes the importance of union labor and prevailing wage. That's what's at stake, and that's what's on the table. And I want you to know this. I will stand shoulder to shoulder with organized labor. I will not sign a bill that is not accepted as a fair deal by organized labor and by the building trades and by Gary LaBarbera and Jimmy Cahill, period. Thank you. Thank you. But my friends, that is a fight for all of us. And it's going to be a tough fight. And it's a fight that's going to require resources, but it's a fight that we're going to stay together. It's a fight that we're going to win. And it's a fight that we can herald all across this country. And I'm looking forward to it. My last point is this, and I'll let you get on with your business. This is an election year. And I'm here in my official capacity, so I don't want to get into politics, otherwise I'll get myself into trouble. I get myself into trouble anyway, but this one I want to avoid. I support Hillary Clinton, and you're going to hear from her in a while, and you'll understand why. But this election is an important one, my friends, because this nation is at a fork in the roads. I'm proud of what my state is doing. But in truth, I can't do it alone, and no state can do it alone. We need a federal government that works once again. This gridlock has to stop. In gridlock, everybody loses. And what they're doing in gridlock really is they're putting their politics above the people of this country. I don't care if you're far left or you're far right. Everybody has an opinion. And it's too easy to insist on your political opinion and that you are 100% right. And if the other side doesn't agree with you, then they're wrong and they're bad. That's not what this country was all about. We have political differences. We do. We were founded on political differences. Our founding fathers had political differences. Otherwise, they would have never gotten the Constitution done. But their approach was, yes, we have differences. But we have to put the differences aside, and we have to find the similarities and the commonalities, and we have to compromise, otherwise we are paralyzed. This nation is paralyzed today. You have gridlock where nothing happens. They don't even get a budget passed. There's no bold legislation. There's no vision. There's no creativity. There's no commitment. It's all on the margins because no one wants to commit to any one course. That's not who we are. That's not what you do. We build great things. We do things that never have been before. And we need a government that is as good as the people of this state. Have your argument. Have your disagreement. But at the end of the day, reach a compromise and move this nation forward. Otherwise, you do us all a disservice. And it doesn't have to be that complicated. In our state, in our harbor, we have a beautiful monument that says it all. We have the Statue of Liberty that tells you everything you need to know about what America is about. She stands there, she holds a torch, she says, you are all invited. You are all invited. We're not going to discriminate by black or white or rich or poor or Italian or Irish or Jewish or Polish or Asian. You're all invited. And we invite you to join this country and join this family, and we will support one another. And we will work with one another. And we're not going to demonize each other, and we're not going to separate each other, and we're not going to try to scapegoat each other, turn us against immigrants. We're all immigrants, my friends. Unless you're a Native American, we are all immigrants. It came down to our founding premise, e pluribus unum. Out of many, one. Let's bring back the unity that made this country the best country on the planet. Unified, there is no one who can defeat us. Only we can defeat ourselves. Let's come together with a vision, and let's build with organized labor. Thank you, and God bless you.